What's up, you guys? How y'all doing? So we had Thunder Valley this past Saturday night, and this Saturday afternoon, I should say. And wow, was it one for the ages? That's for sure. And if you were under Honda, it was a day for you. That's for sure. Because Jett Lawrence had swept the 450 class to remain perfect at 3-0, save for one moto loss to Eli Tomac. And in the 250 class, it was Chance Hymas who came through and stopped the Haiden Deegan Express and end any shot that Deegan had at a perfect motocross season in the 250 class. And it looks like we're going to have to wait even longer for someone to sweep the series in the 250 class in motocross. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably not. But either way, we're going to have to wait for the next young up-and-comer to pull off the same kind of talent that Deegan is showing. Because I hadn't seen that kind of talent since probably James Stewart when he was on that KX 125 against 37 other 254 strokes. But anyway, guys, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I will have one up later this week, or sometime next week, I should say. But in the meantime, I'm going to start with the 450 class. So let's get into this. Jett Lawrence sweeps again. Eli Tomac crashes in Moto 2. And for Eli Tomac to crash in that second moto, the moto where it really counted, once again, that is another opportunity that slipped through Eli Tomac's fingers. Now, some might say that Tomac is in the twilight of his career. And while I'm not one of those people, it sure does look like it. And he's making these kind of mistakes that you would expect a rookie to make. And or a young 16-year-old to make in the 250 class. But for Eli Tomac, he's twice that age. But what happened at Thunder Valley, I think, is proof positive that Eli Tomac is going to need a lot of luck to fall his way to win not just another national, but another motocross championship. He's got 4 already. And with Jett Lawrence advancing to the 450 class, having done so as of 2023, it's safe to say that Achilles injury really zapped a lot of Eli Tomac's talent, because I don't think he's really been the same since then, because these past few seasons, including Supercross, have really not reflected the kind of rider that Eli Tomac truly is. And make no mistake, folks, I don't see Eli Tomac beating Jett Lawrence for an overall in 2025. Not gonna lie to you. Because Jett Lawrence, like Cooksey was talking about, is really experienced, and the fact that he's won every single title at as young as age as he is, as young as he is, it's safe to say that there is no way that Jett Lawrence has any weaknesses. Now, some could say that is similar to Ernesto Fonseca, because you remember back to 1999 when Ernesto Fonseca made his debut in the 125 class at the time for Yamaha Troy. And what did he do? He won 6 of 7 races, including the first 4 straight, before losing to Brock Sellers. And David Bailey compared him to Donnie Hansen. And what he said was that anybody who watched Donnie Hansen, unfortunately, I was not one of those people, because Donnie Hansen was before my time. And I wasn't even born when Donnie Hansen was making a name for himself. But he was always looking really fast. Jett Lawrence is looking really fast, and he's definitely proving that he's a wise guy for 20-something years old. Make no mistake, folks, I really don't see Jett Lawrence losing an overall in 2025 because he's really that good. And you put him in his prime, or I should say, you put him against a 2008 version of James Stewart, I probably would have to go with Jett Lawrence to win that race for sure. Because when Stewart got off front, he would always control the race. And when he was racing with Ricky Carmichael wouldn't pass him right away because James Stewart would go into that red zone and crash his brains out. And that's probably why James Stewart has not beaten RC as many times as he'd like to have before Ricky hung up his helmet. So make no mistake, folks, we could be looking at 2 perfect seasons in a short period of time, almost like Ricky Carmichael, because when Carmichael won every race in 2002 on a 252 stroke, he proved that he was virtually untouchable then. And some of the former pros were saying that, oh, there's not a lot of talent, or we're kind of speculating that there wasn't a lot of talent. But as Jeff Stanton once said, it's all in the preparation. And for Jett Lawrence, for him, it's all in the preparation. He comes to the race, he busts his ass all week, so it's all in the preparation. And especially, it's one thing to do it as a rookie, but it's another thing to do it 2 times when you're in your like junior season, you know, kind of like that junior year of high school. And Jett Lawrence is proving that he's like a mini prodigy, so to speak, you know, kind of like a gifted student, you know, who graduates college at only 12 years old. Okay. Jett Lawrence is like one of those kids who really shows that he's got an intellectual racing mind of someone James Stewart's age in his prime, or almost like another version of Jeremy McGrath when he was dominating Supercross back then. So make no mistake, folks, I think we're going to be talking another perfect season for Jett Lawrence, and Eli Tomac is going to be in for one long-ass summer. Now, as for Chase Sexton, I'm not sure when he's coming back or if he is, but if he does choose to come back, I do hope he comes back ready. But I think that I think what Cooksey said, that Chase Sexton appeared to be burned out, it could be a very likely candidate to why Sexton is not riding like how he was when he was at Honda in his rookie season in 2021. And even to some of 2022, where he was riding so good, but he was always crashing a lot and tucking the front end. And for someone like Chase Sexton, obviously, he definitely killed his own season at Pala when he continued on riding without his goggles. And I had mentioned that was like driving a car in the pouring down rain and not using your windshield wipers. And Cooksey called that playing Russian roulette. And what I had said about that analogy of driving in the pouring down rain and not using your windshield wipers, that's also playing Russian roulette, because there's a 99% chance that you're going to cause a fender bender then. So as far as High Point is concerned, we might be in for a mutter. But then again, High Point has had its fair share of mud races. I can remember 97 when Bradshaw won. That was his last career win. 2000, that was David Villeman's second career win. And also 2001, where Villeman won again. But fortunately, High Point hasn't been a mutter since then. And hopefully that will stay true on Saturday. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now for the 250s. Chance Hymas sweeps. Haiden Deegan wanted perfect season. For Chance Hymas to come out and prove the naysayers that Haiden Deegan was going to sweep this season, I applaud Chance for putting in the kind of performance that he did. But let's face it, if Haiden Deegan had not had the bike problem, Chance Hymas would definitely have not gone 1-1. I'm going to say that right now. Because the way Deegan was riding, he wanted that perfect season for sure. And just looking at his interview, I could see how ticked off he was and how angry he was. That's enough proof in my mind that he wanted that perfect season. No one had done it in the 250 class. The closest guy to do it was James Stewart in 2004 when it was the 125 class at the time. And he ended up losing the second moto at Red Bud because of a blown clutch. So for Deegan to want that perfect season, you can't blame him for wanting it. And he wanted it for sure. But the fact that he kept riding on and not lost a position in the last quarter of that first moto, that's one of those times where you'd say you'd rather be lucky than good. And Haiden Deegan proved just that, because I was kind of hoping that he was going to come back and save the overall win streak and maybe get a perfect season that way, but just didn't work out. And it seemed to me that Haiden Deegan was not riding like his usual self. I don't know if he was having troubles with the altitude or if it was another problem with the bike, or if it was a problem with his body, but only he knows. But anyway, for Chance Hymas to win that was a big statement ride. And I will say this, though. The way that Chance Hymas rode, it kind of reminded me of when Michael Craig predicted that he would beat Jeremy McGrath in Supercross in 1994 and did so. But unfortunately, that kind of karma came back to bite Michael Craig in the ass and then some, because Yamaha put so much pressure on him to win again, and he cracked under that pressure. So is Honda going to do the same thing to Chance Hymas? I seriously doubt it. But if Chance Hymas can back up that performance and prove that ride at Colorado was no fluke, Haiden Deegan may have just found himself a challenger. And he better be on his toes for sure, because all it takes is one bad moto, and that could essentially kill your season. So for Deegan to have that kind of ride, of course, it was just one of those days, one could say. But I could see he wanted that perfect season for sure. You know, just like how Grant Langston wanted that title in 2001. So we'll see what happens at High Point. And, of course, in other news, Triumph is getting Jalek Swoll back after an Achilles injury, cost him all of Supercross. And, of course, the first 3 races of the outdoor season. I don't know how Jalek Swoll is going to do. He is a former winner here. Do I think he's going to win this race? Probably not, but it will be good to see him in the top 5, maybe the top 10. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. So thanks, guys. Subscribe, and I'll see you all after High Point.